So, hello everyone. How are you? I'm here with my lovely husband.
I like being called lovely.
Psychic medium and trance channel Riz Mirza.
A lot of guys would not like to be called lovely.
My lovely and beautiful husband.
My bros out there, have your significant other call you lovely. And what else did you say?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I think we're getting a little bit more used to beautiful, but lovely is different. We haven't gotten used to that so much, but welcome.
Welcome. And you are joining us for our little sit down, I want to say fireside chat. It is kind of a fireside chat, actually.
Except we have LED fire. Well, we have a
lot
fire.
Of electrical fire going on around us.
It's all LED.
But can I tell you, it has been pouring rain out here, and it finally got to me, a true native Californian, and it also got to our baby cat.
Because she wants to go out. You hear her meowing?
She has been trapped in the house for 3 days. She's tried to go outside. She can't figure out if she really can handle it.
She's walking around back there. I can see her. She just walked past
She's so frustrated.
the fireplace.
Yeah, and she wants to come in to the podcast, and she wants to go outside, and she wants to come in, and she wants to talk to us, and then she wants to tell us.
Our pets want everything.
Yeah.
It's because they live in other dimensions. I always think about this with cats, that they don't really, it's why the Egyptians probably love them, is that they were very aware. Cats are aware of other dimensions.
Yeah.
Dogs, I see dogs as our friends and our protectors, where I see cats as kind of mothering energy. Also, they are the watchers psychically. You know, they can see the spirits. You often see them kind of looking in the air behind you. And that's what the ancient Egyptians really were into. And so I wonder, listen to her.
Do you think that she's just going to keep her position
Yeah.
of I want to go outside and turn off the rain, Mom? That's what she's saying.
She
to
can
me.
turn off the rain.
Turn off the
let
rain.
me out.
Let me out.
Then it's going to be wet. Then she's going to want to come back in. Yeah.
And then she wants to come up here, but then she doesn't want to. So she's just very antsy right now.
Maybe she feels the spirits, because every time we sit and talk, come here.
I know. She's very
Oh, no.
antsy.
She just wants to walk away and show me the big fluffy tail.
Yeah.
Rub against the table.
She's antsy. Well, you guys, today's episode is a heavy one. It's a big one, but we are going to make it really digestible and very light for you guys, because who can really handle, who can talk about what happens on the other side?
You mean death?
Yes, but like what
that topic has been done to death.
That's why you wanted
I was
to say
waiting
that.
for that.
Yeah,
I made it happen.
I saw that you trying to get to that.
Waiting like an alligator patiently to tell my half lame joke.
So, but don't you agree that talking about the other side, there's no expert, there's no authority figure on the topic.
We kind of just tell our tales from the road, right?
Yeah.
As a human, I have my stories as Riz.
Yeah.
I've had people in my family die, close friends die. I observe death around me as a medium. And then that becomes a different experience, because people sometimes ask me, well, you must deal with death so easily. And I go, actually, sometimes I feel like I'm the worst.
Yeah.
Because I have to be, in a sense, strong and clear for my students and my clients. But when the whole reason I became a medium and dedicated my life to it was because of the pain I felt that when I went through losing my parents, losing my brother, losing my best friend.
Yeah.
So it's deep.
It's not,
for me.
when he says it that fast, it's actually, each and every one of those was life-changing.
Yeah.
And it actually created who you are today. You became who you are today through those deaths. That's how you
I just thought of a question for you.
transformed yourself.
Yeah, because sometimes I hear people say that they were transformed by the birth of their children, that with each child that was born, they had a different shift inside of them. And for me, it was because I don't have biological children. I have my stepchildren. But each person who died in my life was where I rebirthed myself.
So
I changed.
Why don't you tell everybody, and while I'm trying to find a perfect position to sit in, tell everybody how old you are with the most significant deaths in your life that you experienced before we start.
When I was a teenager, my mom passed away from cancer, and it was a 2-year battle. I'm sure you guys have experienced it in your own life, or you know someone, and it is the spaces you go through day to day. You go through denial, you go through defeat, you go through I'm going to fight this, you go through this person can beat it. You go through life isn't fair. You go through there is a God, and you go through there is no God. Then you go back to there is a God, there is no God. You go back and forth. So.
And how old were you with your brother?
Was early 30s.
Early 30s.
Yeah.
And then how old were you when your dad crossed?
That was only 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was an interesting story because you were just about to go channel.
And in my late.
A room full of people.
Yeah, guys. So, it was 5 minutes before I had to channel in front of people. And of course, you could have gone out and told everyone Riz's dad just died, and everyone would have been fine and left. Of course, they would have understood. But something in me said, I have to channel right now. Mm-hmm. That I have to go on. I don't know what part of me that is. I'm not necessarily saying it was a brave part of me. I might have done that so that I didn't have to kind of face it at that moment. But I would say that the best thing I can say about it is that for me, it was that it was my way of connecting to him, or being in the spirit world as a channeler, connect to the other side. Mm-hmm. And that maybe that there would be some kind of healing I would get when I channel and the spirit guides come through, that Riz, the person who is somewhere in a deeper state of consciousness, would get healed.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, you were there.
And everybody can support you in the room.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't talk about it much, guys, but when I do kind of go in, I really feel like something incredibly magical happened to me, as painful as it was for my family, for me to lose my dad. I technically understand what happens when you cross over, because as a medium, I have seen what happens. Sometimes there's been a person who shows me what it was like when they left their body.
That happens to you a lot.
Yeah.
You get to see that.
And I tell you something, it's incredible, because it is, I have seen the messages I get. They tell me the spirit guide that they didn't really know. Meaning that they somehow recognized who this spirit was. It was very beautiful, powerful, but peaceful and welcoming, and took them kind of like across this. Sometimes there's a tunnel. Sometimes they've told me there's a bridge.
I bet you wore that shirt by accident and it has an angel on it.
Well,
and you didn't even realize what we're going to be talking about today.
I did not know the topic. I got dressed
See how
first.
that goes?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Wow.
And this is the only shirt that I have that has an angel on it.
Yeah.
So that was like for me. What about for you?
Well, I had my dad crossed when I was 25 suddenly. It was just the two big significant deaths in my life were my mom and dad, and they both crossed with a heart attack suddenly. So I never got to say goodbye. It was just instant. Mm-hmm. And looking back, I see that it was very much their style. That was very much their style, because they were both rebels. My dad is a Libra, angel with a broken wing kind of thing, earth angel. And very cosmic guy.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from him in many ways, but he didn't know how to be a father, and he didn't know how to be a husband, and he was just wondering what he was doing here all the time.
Yeah.
But he was a phenomenal human being, and I really, really love him. And then my mom crossed, I think it was 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
It was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. And she left with the same, out of here. It was just it was just a decision she made on the fly. And, she
made a lot of decisions on the fly.
And I was really close to her. So I understood her decisions, and she was in her 80s, and I understood why she went. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, because the more you understand the person's soul journey, and you understand where they are in their internal decision making, you you're not as surprised when you get to know the whole story, that they're grappling with something deep inside themselves that you have no idea what they're going through. And I'm not talking suicide. I'm talking their soul's journey is wondering when is my time up? And when their time is up and they feel that their time is up, that's it. Mm-hmm. And that's for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that, and I have a theory about this, I feel like a lot of people...
Suicide does qualify for this too, but in this case, I wasn't talking about that.
I feel like a lot of people give signs, weird signs, that they're going to cross over. I mean, I remember before my mom got sick, there was a day that I was walking through the house, and I was on my way to band practice. I had my guitar case in my hand. I'll never forget this day. And she wasn't sick. but she was sitting at the dining table looking outside the window, just having a cup of tea. And I had never seen this certain look on her face. It was a faraway look. Looking back, I didn't get it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to rehearsal. And she barely looked at me. She said, okay.
Oh, wow.
And I stopped for a second.
That caught your attention?
Caught my attention, not knowing what that moment was.
Yeah. And is that probably when she found out she had cancer?
No. She didn't know anything. This is like a year before. Maybe 6 months. I would say 6 months.
But you picked up something from her.
I picked up that
like her soul.
I don't know. I didn't pick up that she was going to get sick and transition in 2 years. What I picked up was that she was in a space that I didn't recognize. As a son, you usually tend to think you know everything about your parents.
Right.
It was a version of her that I was like, who is that? Like, what? You exist without me? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like in the sense that there's another identity. You know what I mean by that? So I remember I just said, okay, I'll see you later. And I forgot about that until I think after she transitioned, when she crossed over, that played out in my mind, that moment. And I think that her higher self, her higher conscience, her spirit, all had a strange realization that I think I'm done here. And I think I've had moments where I felt like, I'm done here. I was like, I'm done. But it said like that. I say like, I'm done. Not, I think, even when I thought I was done.
Yeah.
No. It's a different thing.
Well, and even though this is not what the topic of today's show is about, but we are talking a little bit about this. I remember having a couple situations where I said I was done, but then my body said, okay, I actually created let's go to the brink of death. And I'm in the hospital. And I put myself in situations where I realized, oh, wait, no, I'm just kidding. I'm actually,
I'm sorry.
I'm not done. I swear to God, I'm not
Uncle.
done.
I'm just kidding.
Like, it takes me right to the doorway. And I'm like, and I remember one of my most serious ones, I went to the doorway. And I remember the guides, it was Red Eagle and Merlin, showed up into my third eye. They came in really strong.
Yeah, I remember
and
this.
And they started cracking
I remember
jokes.
this. You were in the ER.
Yeah, they were making fun of me. And they're like, so, here we are again. You like to take it all the way. You like to go right to the doorway. And you want to see how far you can go. Because that's my style. I like to see how far I can go. And that's when I realized, this isn't a joke. You actually can cross over. So
yeah, can I tell you about a time where I connected to someone as a medium where they had taken their own life? So that's what happened. And I think it was, just a couple of months after, and I gave the reading. I try to wait 6 months before I do a mediumship reading, because the soul, I've noticed after so many readings, I've noticed that it's almost like they have things to do when they cross over.
They're very busy.
There's a lot of paperwork, apparently. There's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
They have hands to shake and contracts to sign and, check into their...
We're going to go into the detail and tell people what really we know is happening. And it's not exactly paperwork for those of you who are watching.
Yes, but I do say that they have to acclimate to the other side.
Yeah.
So this one young man who took his life told me from the other side that he's like, oh, I was just kidding. That's what meaning, and I was like, I couldn't tell the mom that he just said he was just kidding. I had to get the real translation. Like, why is he saying it like that to me? He showed me that he didn't think it was going to really happen. He was just like really letting off steam, and he just was like, I don't want to be here anymore. It was almost like this big tantrum, but then it happened, and then he was outside of his body, and he's like, oh shit, I just did it. And there's my body, and
the famous oh shit moment.
That's sometimes that's what the Buddha statue is. Those Buddha statues where he's hitting his head.
Because look at how many lifetimes have we had? Everybody, reincarnated and coming back here thousands of times, hundreds of times. And so, how many times have we gone in different ways? Could you imagine?
Well, I asked him that. I said, so now what? And then he said that his guides came and showed him that actually it wasn't an error. You were going to have this karmic path that you were going to most likely play out, and that it's okay now, and you're going to continue your soul's journey. And there's many things that these people in your family have to experience to complete their karmic, you want to say their lessons or their path in life. That has to happen. So that's what happened.
I would like to talk to you about being a death doula.
Yeah.
So
I could talk to y'all about her being a death doula. The things that I have seen.
Oh my gosh.
Well, can I just preface it by one thing?
Yes.
There's been moments in our life where you will start feeling like something's wrong, and I'm thinking just, as your husband, like, what's wrong? What's the matter? Is it something with the kids? Is it, feeling good? It's typical couple stuff. Excuse me. And then I think maybe you're just being negative. Something bad's going to happen. And guys, so many times, I think it's been 5 out of 5 times where it was that she would be in the shower, like weeping.
Well, that was the one most
drastic. That one. And we found out that someone close to us had died at the moment that she was breaking down in tears over something.
Suicide.
Yeah.
And it was through gunshot, and I actually felt it. So I was in the shower and minding my own business, and I felt it. I actually felt the gunshot go through my head. I thought it was me, but then there was no gunshot because I was just taking a shower. And so I went through the entire process of understanding that I just died. And I heard the dialogue, except it wasn't my voice. And I recognized the voice, and I went, oh my God. I had enough of a grip to understand it wasn't me, but my body was going through the motions. So Riz found me outside the shower on the floor in a ball, and I kept repeating and shaking. And what I was repeating was, I didn't know it was going to be like this. Like, I didn't know death was going to be like this. So it was like, it's like when people are more conscious in their lifetime. So it's one thing to commit suicide or die, and you're kind of like asleep at the wheel. You're kind of in a comatose state. You're kind of like
drugged-induced state,
or you're like, it's like spiritually asleep. Okay.
Checked out, mentally checked out.
Yeah, you're like still. We've all been there in our other lifetimes, and it's one thing to die under those circumstances, but it's another thing is when you're half conscious, like you're half awake, like you're kind of awake, or you're really awake, because then you keep your eyes open through that journey. And you're watching and you're paying attention to the whole thing of your death. So it's a totally different experience. So,
but you didn't, in that instance,
I had no idea.
Right. Every time we didn't know that somebody had died.
So I found out days later that it happened.
Yep. And we traced it back at its exact time.
Exact timing, day, everything. And, but that wasn't the first time, but that was the most drastic. And of course I had the guides channel through Riz and tell me everything about it for me to understand. And that's when I started to understand that I have helped and do help people cross.
So we say death doula.
Death doula. So there's the living death doula, who's like flesh and blood like me and you, who goes to a hospice bedside and actually helps somebody cross over through conversations and ceremony. And then there's another form of a death doula, or
it's called the empathic death doula.
The empathic. So you're actually it's a form of like more etheric, right?
Well, you're part of your, what we've discovered is that a part of a version of you, your higher self, is in that plane where that person has left their body and now they're walking across to the other side.
Yes.
You're walking alongside them, holding their hand.
So what I found out through all this discovery is that we all have interests, and there's certain things we're interested in. Now, believe it or not, Riz, you don't even realize you never signed up to become a medium when you were a young man.
No.
But guess what happened? You have an interest somewhere inside of you to relay messages from the other side to people.
Yes.
And so you became a medium because of that. And I had an interest in helping people cross over, and I didn't know either until I started to see it happen. So now we can, I guess, jump into what we've discovered happens on the other side.
I have discovered, first of all, that was amazing share, right? Because we're really now starting to talk about, like, what are these senses that we have? What about the sense where a mom feels something wrong with their kid and the kid is 3,000 miles away? What about the twin who suddenly has a pain in their leg and finds out that their twin just had an accident skiing and broke their leg? Well, there are many, many instances of this. So I think we're talking about that the sixth sense is not just about when someone dies. Your sixth sense is you're tapping into all these frequencies of our energy as human beings, how we're making energy flow in the world, right? And we're tapping into it, but there's a natural thing. Because you have to have that mother's umbilical cord kind of connection to feel something wrong with your kid. I've seen you, by the way, have done it with your kids, is that you have said, oh, someone is going through something. And then sure enough, later on that night, one of the kids will call.
And it's usually when it's like real.
Or you'll mention one of their names and they'll call while we're having the conversation randomly about one of them, they call.
They've also called and surprised me with injuries that I didn't know that they had, but they were not the kind of injuries that needed to be handled or taken care of.
Yeah.
Like in a serious way.
Yeah.
It's only the more real serious things that I feel, like the deeper things. So what I want to say before we jump into this is that I want to pose this question to everybody, that we don't actually know if we're alive or if we're on the other side. And why do I say that? Because if you look at your life right now and you just, how would I say it? Like take a filter, or I don't know how to say it properly, but if you just were to review your entire life from the aspect that this could be the afterlife that you're in right now.
So you're already dead right now. Like you think you're alive.
You're holding this device. You're watching it on the laptop or the television. We're here, but this is all the afterlife.
This is very interesting.
And we are handling our karma, paying our dues,
processing a past life,
processing our past lives, coming to terms with death, coming to terms with life,
completing soul contracts with people,
life birth connection. Yeah,
the soul contract,
soul contracts, understanding what death is. The ultimate death, when I die, I'm going to speak for myself. When I die at a ripe old age of 92, 89.
You got to do 95 at least.
95. Well, if I do yeah.
Like you got to do 95.
Really healthy version.
All this holistic and spiritual, stuff we've learned. We got to at least hit 95 to
oh no, I'm
keep the cred.
Thought. I knew it. I was hanging on by a thread.
You said,
okay, hold on. I think I got it.
What if we find out we're dead right now? This is the other side.
I know what the topic was leading up to it, but I was on a thread and now it's gone. But I'm going to try to get back on. Hold on.
All right. I'm going to lean back and just chill.
Okay. So if I'm in my 80s, let's see where I was because it's totally gone. Wiped out clean. I cannot remember, but I'm going to try to go with what I know I would say.
Okay.
So in my 80s, 90s, when I die, I believe that is when I'm really going to come to life.
Ooh.
That's my belief. Never told you. Sorry, took a while for me to get here.
I actually believe in that also. I just haven't found the words to articulate it that way.
Right, that's why I had a hard time saying it, because I have said it in my head, but I've never said it out loud. So here's how it goes. I'm alive here now, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to die, and my body will go into the ground.
Okay.
But I believe that when I die, this lifetime,
yes,
I'm actually really going to come to life. And it's the first time I will be really alive.
That, though, is very ancient in its teachings, too. I mean,
I haven't heard that before.
No.
Is it?
No one said it the way you're saying it.
Right.
I mean, they call it the afterlife.
Right.
And I always like to say when someone asks me, so how's my cousin doing on the other side? I'm like, oh, he's having the time of his afterlife. So you're almost, the way that other cultures have expressed this is that they say that when you die, you are coming into the fullness of your expression.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like all the way stretched out to the limit on 10, all levels on 10.
So then what is really life and what is really death? So then this could be
school
death.
and graduation.
This could be death.
Yeah, it could be.
That is really life.
Because we're trying to do that here now.
Dying is actually living, and living is actually dying, and that's why it feels like dying. Oh.
Hold on. I'm riding the explosion of my brain right now. I'm in the debris, floating backwards like Matrix style. Like, oh.
Let's rewind that, y'all. Let's rewind that.
So we did this. It said so at the same time, right? There's synchronicity. I would say this. The way what you're saying is that the doorway is the same for birth or death. There's no like
Correct.
entrance and exit. It's one door.
Yes.
And you come and go through that, but really you're just stepping into the next dimension. You're going to the next room.
You know how people feel like they really want to live right now?
Yeah, like how do I live more?
Like I want to live more.
Right.
I want to live. It's because you feel death, right?
Yeah. They feel like a slow death happening.
There you go. So we're coming out of death. I think we're in a death, and then we come to life when we die.
Yeah. But we want to help.
So it's like a graduation. But the reason we're waking up in our death, which is our current life, the reason why we're waking up and talking like this is because this is our last lifetime. And this is the last lifetime we have to go through this karmic death life cycle as a human being on this lifetime.
Now,
in this lifetime.
I would hope
is my belief.
Now, some people will feel like they have a lot more lifetimes to go. I think.
Well, yeah, everybody's.
I think we all are hoping this is my last lifetime
I know
here.
This is my last life. Oh, I
feel
can
it.
guarantee it.
I think that
I know for a fact.
I do feel that the healer's path, when you are really out there spreading consciousness and expanding consciousness through what you do to the fullest expression of who it is that you are.
Yeah, it's like
I feel that's when you're done.
It's like wringing out a towel until there is no more water. You
That's
just
why
give everything you have, and that's what I think that means your full expression, right?
Well, because sometimes people ask me when I channel spirit guides who are famous, so it'll be like a famous leader from the 50s or 60s will come through and I channel them, and someone will say, well, how could they not have reincarnated? I say, because that was their fullest expression of who they were. So they're done. They graduated. They fully expressed themselves here. So now they traveled through. Oh, you want to go to that question? Okay, so if they're not reincarnating, what are they doing?
Well, I was going to go to what happens in the afterlife.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm ready to jump in right now.
Okay, so if you think of a human body, all the cells in it, there's also space between the cells. There's a bloodstream that's flowing through it, right? And then you have blood cells and all that. I think of the universe sometimes, if you really want to hear a wild thought, sometimes I look up at the sky and I see all the stars and we see pictures of planets. And I think to myself that what if we were just, all these round planets are literally just blood cells in a giant creature, way bigger than you can ever imagine. And we're just traveling through the bloodstream of some one big creature.
Like the bacteria travels around in our intestines?
Yeah, because they have a whole ecosystem down there and there's intelligent, movement there.
Right.
So I'm not saying we're worthless. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about physical size.
You would die if you had the wrong bacteria in your intestines.
You want to hear something really crazy?
What?
Someone told me that if you actually, you know how when you eat fiber, it's supposed to be passed through you? They said if you actually absorbed fiber, you'd be dead pretty fast. You're not supposed to absorb fiber. It's not supposed to be in your body. It doesn't hold any nutritional value in that sense.
But it helps scrub you out.
It's just a scrub. Yeah. It's like you don't eat a broom,
so
right?
It could be that we are a small ecosystem in a bubble because everything's like...
in the body of some giant creature.
Right? Cells are round. The earth is round.
Right. Droplets of water.
Round, people.
Yes.
Round. Everything is circular. And so there's that cellular... It's like a cellular...
Kepler, who's one of my guides... he spoke of the music of the spheres, if you look up his philosophy. And so the music of the spheres was not just about sound, or frequency, it was also about coming, things being in a circle, full circle, right? So let's talk about...
Now let's talk about what happens. So I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
Okay? So here's what I discovered. I'm going to use my mom as an example.
Okay.
With my dad, I was traumatized because I was only 25 and I was just like... totally traumatized. It took me a long time to get over my dad, connect to my dad, get messages from my dad, and then finally having my own relationship with him, and to now we're peaceful and he's moved on into his other dimensions because I'm complete. But my mom, who was sitting here with me just like you are one day, and the next day she is gone.
The very next day.
It was so surreal. And here I am, knowing what I know now. So I was able to process it in a totally different way. And I was able to be more connected to what happens to her. So between you and I and your connection to her and your ability to see, we pieced together her journey, and it was fantastic. I watched the whole thing.
It was a fantastic voyage.
It was like watching a movie. So once she stepped out of her body, and then she saw her body, and then she realized, okay, this is
time.
And it was her decision, and she agreed to go. in that moment. Like, I think I'm good. My daughter's complete. She's doesn't need me the same anymore, and everybody's good. So, I think I can go. So when she left, she went over to I think that's the first time she experienced the princess feeling she wanted. She always wanted to have that, the gowns and the jewels and the ball and the castle and the whole thing, the whole fairy wonderland, or the princess kind of vision. So she did that. And then as time went on, she experienced more of the more elegant, more sophisticated version of that. And then she started to get ready to talk to her guides, because she wasn't as connected to her guides as like we are. So she needed more time to frolic in the grass and enjoy and play and just be free.
And she was sending you these messages.
Yes.
She was telepathically, you could feel the communications. It was remarkable, because I remember when you would wake up and say, so let me tell you what's going on with my mom.
Yeah, she would come in dreams.
Yeah, she would show her.
She would come in dreams. She would come to my kids in dreams. She would come to Riz, because she was so close to us and very vocal, so it was no surprise. And so she just continued on and on and on, keeping us updated basically until she started to get serious and really get into her work. And this is the part that I want to break down for people and have them really understand when you lose a loved one and you don't know what's happening on the other side. And yes, people with near-death experiences have talked about this. People who have been in their deep hypnotherapy have talked about this. Channelers have talked about this. This is all like pretty much common knowledge, and it's all been said in different ways. But the first thing is the different versions of how people cross to the other side. Some people go through a tunnel. Some follow a light. Some is in the dark. Some is in space. Some just wakes up on the other side. So there's no one size fits all.
Some are standing next to their body in the hospital for a while, just fascinated at what they're looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't cross over for a while. As we know in our paranormal shows, they hang out for a while.
You do have a choice.
You do. But this is the part where I think my life started to change, especially when I met you and I started talking to you as a medium and also hearing you channel.
Yes.
This is the part where I got, a lot of peace over my dad's death and the other family members who have died.
Yeah.
So what I love to know and what I love to find out more about is there's a period of time. This is so fascinating to me. There's a period of time that the guides wait for you to acclimate. And so they sometimes have to play roles.
Yes. So let's talk about the roles.
I want you to explain that. That's
here's what's cool.
Incredible. I love this.
So here's what happens from what they have told me, my guides have told me, is that the soul, the person, has been living an entire life with a certain set of beliefs. Whatever the religion is, whoever the prophets are in that particular religion, whether they're tribal, whether they're Abrahamic, it doesn't make a difference. You kind of expect certain things to be there, okay? So the Buddhist expects to see Buddha, or maybe a tree or something that has something to do with Buddha. The Christian may expect something else. The Muslim may expect something else.
Right.
And that is a deep belief system. The universe is so beautiful, and the divine energy of the other side is so giving and so generous that they know this. So when you cross over, they will appear that way. They will give you that experience because all of your concepts, remember, you still are the person that you were on the earth. And now because this is your true, unique, individual personality, which is, we are all that, right? So you're crossing over, you carry some of those beliefs with you still. You want to see what you think, you realize you're dead, and now you want to see what you've been expecting to see.
Yeah.
And they give it to you.
They want to see Jesus, or they want to see Muhammad.
Whatever it may be. They might want to see Buddha. They might want to see a white tiger. They might want to see a white tiger with glowing eyes because in the tribe they told you that this is who's going to carry. They might see Pegasus. Whatever.
Right.
They might see just their grandmother because their grandmother was the ultimate symbol of the other side and peace. So they arrange that for you, and you get to experience that. So you kind of take an exhale. You go, oh, okay, that was all true. Good, I'm here. And then what happens is, it's not that they tell you it's not true. They show you that there's much more.
Right.
Okay, now you're okay now. You see that everybody's, it was the way you wanted. And then it's almost like the curtain opens up and they show you the vast wonders of this infinite reality called love and the universe. The universe, I don't mean planets, galaxies, and stars.
So it's like a slow unveiling. The more you're ready to see more, because after a while you're fulfilled as a soul. You're fulfilled in what you're seeing.
Well, earlier you were speaking about when people take their own lives. Someone asked me, well, what happens to those people? They don't get punished. What happens is they're already in pain. Why would you punish someone who's in such pain? That's not what happens. You are embraced. They kind of huddle around you and hold that soul so that you kind of, I want to say you decompress. You go into a decompression because you had just experienced so much heightened emotion of pain, sadness, aloneness that made you take your life. And so they heal you, of course, and you are taught again the values and the meanings of existence and your soul purpose. You're certainly not punished. That's what I have experienced as a medium. So many times when family members come to me, they'll say, I'm so worried about my sister because she took her life. Is she going to hell?
Right.
And I say, before I even connect, I'm going to tell you, no, that's not the way I've ever experienced it.
Yeah. So what happens, I think, is they, after a while, will be talking and they'll be like looking at, let's say the proverbial, like they'll be looking at Jesus. I'm not going to say proverbial because it's like the real Jesus. And they're looking at the saints and they're having this like really amazing experience. But then after a while, this is as time goes on, there's a period of time where you finally start to get like
chilled out.
Okay, so I know now that all my beliefs are true and I would like to see something else. Like what else is going on here on the other side? And that is when the guides start to unravel and kind of unveil the next dimension that you're going to go into, because the next version of your experience that you're going to see.
This is the journey of the soul.
Right.
You are the soul. You don't have a soul. You are the soul. So you are.
You want to know what my favorite part is?
Tell me.
It's the teaching part. It's
when you sit with your guides?
It's when you sit with your guides and you go, what happened? I want to talk about my life.
Yeah. And they go, okay, we have all the time in the world. So I have seen people on the other side literally sitting on a beautiful little grassy hill, the most perfect day, butterflies. There's a teacher sitting with 3 or 4 people under the tree. There's kids playing by this little stream, and the teacher is talking to them. And they are finally able to receive the information. And these people on the other side are talking back to the guru or the teacher or the spirit guide saying, but what about this and what about that? And there's this exchange of wisdom and healing that happens.
Yeah. And then after a while, do you know what happens? You get to a point that you advance past this identity.
Yes.
And then you actually can choose to shapeshift into other identities or other beings or even just energy balls of light. You don't even have to have a body.
Yep.
And so, but for a time you're connected and attached to this one. But you have to remember when we wake up on the other side, there's like, this is a dream state. So it's kind of like a dream that we remember that we were in this life. And then that's what's fascinating. So then we have to meet all the players and the souls.
Because there are storylines that were running through these different, just like your dreams have storylines, this entire lifetime has these storylines that are the main through lines of this life.
And you have multi-dimensional lives. You have parallel lives going on at the same time. And some of them are different versions of you, but they're like male, female, different ethnicities, different regions of the world.
Have you heard of those people who, there's a theory going around that there were certain points in time where something changed, meaning time itself changed, and we entered into a parallel reality?
I've heard of that.
Where
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think that if enough beings get together and have the same collective consciousness in the same way, there could be a leap of consciousness that we take together into a different reality. So we could, as a group, be watching another group of people experiencing something that we have no interest in living that life. Like, for instance, I'm not going to go start a war. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to go start a war. So I will watch people that are starting wars or in war, and I have compassion for those people, but I have no interest in joining in that unless I was forced. But I'm not going to choose that. So I feel like we're just living in a different, it's like a different reality that we're creating for ourselves. I don't know if that is more practical, and you were probably talking more metaphysical.
Metaphysical, but I mean, then again, We are just going down the water slide.
Everything at the wall right now.
Today, because the moment you see, guys, when we start talking about these things, everything leads into everything else, right?
It
so if
really
you start
does.
if you start talking about the first chakra, you're going to end up talking about the fifth one too.
Yeah,
So,
it doesn't end. It's streams of consciousness.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those are my favorite things on the other side. So I love when
I heard you can eat all you want and you don't gain weight.
You can eat on the other side, you guys. Can you believe that?
Speaking of someone who likes to eat all the time.
So yeah, this is really incredible. So you can actually eat on the other side.
You can have 9 lives. Like, what do you think? Why?
And you can create environments for yourself as you start to become more adept to your creation skills. You can go fishing. You can have a house. You can
reenact different parts of your life.
Yeah.
And understand different outcomes. I want to talk about one very interesting thing that I had a spirit guide channel through me to tell me about the other side. And you were there for that. And they called it the life review.
Yes.
That you're taken to a space by your guides. And
I think she wants to come to me.
She wants to come to you? Go ahead.
Here.
Go.
She doesn't like your pants.
She doesn't?
They're too shiny.
They're too shiny? I like them because they're shiny. Okay. So the life review, guys, is imagine a kind of a holographic room where they turn it on and you are going to go through your entire life and you're going to experience it again, except you're going to experience all of it through how everyone else around you actually felt. So not only are you going
ready for that, you might as well do your homework now and be ready for that. So
you're going to feel
you're not going to go into deep shock.
Yeah, you're going to review your life and you're going to see how they felt.
Right.
Now, what'll be interesting, because at first we're going to be like, oh shit, how did I make that person feel? But you're also going to feel how much they love you. You're also going to feel that how clearly they saw that you were beautiful when you didn't feel beautiful inside or out. You're also going to hear how they heard your voice as beautiful, but you didn't like your own voice. Can make you cry, right?
Yeah, that's can't even
like you're going to get to feel that.
Yeah.
I thought that for me that was my favorite part, along with the fact that you can eat all you want.
Of course, that's your
and
favorite
never
part.
worried about anything, because I would have 30 different cereals.
Yeah.
All the fast food, everything.
Yeah, that you
whatever,
can get away with.
everything I could get away with.
Then you can take your course of studies, so that you actually can educate yourself even more as a soul. And start to, like, for myself, I have plans. So like on the other side, beside my spirit guide training and all the spirit guide work that I would like to do on the other side, I also want to venture into other solar systems. And I want to go into other planetary systems, which they have totally different rules, totally different
rules of laws of physics.
Laws
of course.
Physics, communication.
I mean, to me,
everything.
this is.
So I want to go into that. My dad did that. Yeah. My dad went off in different planets.
We did a reading one time and her dad came through. Now, I never knew clearly, just for you guys know.
I know, like I pick up the phone and he tells me, right? And that's the kind of connection I have. And I know some of you have that with your loved ones, that you can just feel them talking to you. And do you want to say a little bit about how to connect to a loved one?
Yes, I do.
People who are grieving or are curious?
Okay, guys. So remember, I want you to know something. We speak and connect when we're on the same frequency, right? When we get along with someone, we go, oh, we're just on the same page. We're on the same wavelength. We're on the same frequency. They all mean the same thing. When you had a relationship with your loved one, the basis of while they were alive, the basis of your relationship was love, good times. Of course, you've had bad times with them. But the basis was that I love you, you love me, and we're here together. And those are all where your memories stem from. So two things happened. Like, so when a person dies, imagine this is the frequency. When you're alive, both of you guys are here. When a person dies, their frequency rises. Clearly, we all understand that example. So their frequency rises. What happens to your frequency? It lowers because you're in pain at the shock of losing them. So now the frequencies are this far apart. The medium, right, comes in the middle. That's what medium means, and is able to hear both sides. So it's important to know that when you want to communicate to those who have crossed over, it's not through going to the cemetery or something or a memorial and weeping and, boy, God, I really need to hear it. All those emotions are beautiful and true and valid, but that's not how you communicate with them. So let that out. You have to let the grief out. But then I say practice some meditation. Do things that are mindfulness techniques to allow you to come to a calm state of mind where you're no longer in your emotions, but you're more in a philosophical peace.
Right.
And then you connect to them. You give them a message and you call out to them and say, I would love to have a message from you, whether it's through a dream,
Right.
something happening in my life where I see a sign from you.
Send me a symbol.
Send me a symbol, or something on TV, or a song will play in the supermarket, or hook me up with a medium. Can I just like casually meet a medium, or find me a medium to get this message through? All of these things. And you'll start to see that. So do things that you loved with them, eat the foods that you loved with them, play the music that they loved, and sing along.
You're so psychic.
Why?
I cannot believe you just said sing along.
Why?
Okay, you're going to, yeah, sometimes you stump me like that. So I was just going to tell you a story of one of my favorite channelings that you did where you gave a psychic message and you were channeling. And it was to somebody about singing. And I was just about to say it to you and share the story, and then you picked up on it.
Tell me, there's so many stories. Which one is this?
Okay, so what happened was there was a sister, she was in the audience, and she asked a question to get a message from her sister who had crossed over. Or there was a woman and she wanted a message from her sister. And so there was a little pact she made with her sister who had crossed. So she was in the car on the way to the channeling circle, and she was singing this song. And she said...
You got to be kidding me. I said the song?
I don't think you said the song.
Oh, okay.
But she said, if you hear me singing and you know that I'm coming and this is real, let me know in the message. So we were all listening to the message. It was beautiful. And the message was about to close. And then, because it was you and Red Eagle.
Yeah.
And so Red Eagle said, he goes, oh, and by the way, she likes hearing you sing in the car. Or she heard you singing in the car. Same thing. And then there was a conversation about which song was it.
So she said...
Do you remember it was this message?
No, I do remember.
Hollywood. I think it was...
I do remember that one time I did a reading for someone. I wasn't channeling. I was as me talking. And I heard this very old song from the 70s that I used to hear when I was... Yeah, you remember.
The rope around the yellow...
Tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree, which she said...
Tie a yellow ribbon around... Yeah.
Played at the person's funeral.
Right. That's right.
So these are confirmations that come through.
But that woman came and talked to me in the lobby, and I am totally mangling this situation, okay? I can hear it. I'm not saying it exactly how it happened. But
no, you made sense.
Yeah, but I feel like it was more specific because it landed
That's pretty specific.
So here's what she said. She walked over to me at the end, and she goes, honestly... The last part of the message is all I needed to hear, and I am at peace, and I never have to worry about my sister again because she's still alive. And it was peace out. And I got chills, and she walked out the door and thanked me. She said, that's all I needed to hear because she confirmed the question. Now, this doesn't always happen, because the soul on the other side is not always, hanging around.
They don't always, so let's talk about that, right? So,
because people get frustrated about that.
They come to you and they just think that you have everybody their number on the other side, like in my phone. It's like just they're in your phone, right? Basically, I can just call and text anyone that I want.
50 billion souls. I tell people,
don't go to any medium that tells you.
Sure.
Of course, I'll get your grandmother to come through. It doesn't work that way. No one has that kind of power in the entire universe.
Right.
It is, if they come through, they come through. Sometimes you want to hear from your grandma, and guess who comes through? The neighbor from 10 years ago that used to just say hi to.
Yeah.
It's happened to you.
It's happened to me so many times. I want to talk to my dad, and somebody random, I'm like...
Because
why is this person talking to me?
The powers that be deem that it's not time for you to get a message, and you have to just have humility and say, I accept, and when it's time, you'll get it.
Sometimes those souls are going through something very deep.
They're in class. You want them to go pull them out of class to go have a talk with you in the hall? Come on.
My dad was very troubled, and he needed a lot of time to process his existence on this planet. And it took him a lot of time before he was able to really, really talk to me in a coherent way, because there was a lot of emotions, very deep emotions. Yeah. And so people are also fascinated that there's emotions on the other side.
Yeah, people sometimes think that you leave here and you become the wisest person in the world. like you have all the secrets of the universe. No, you're continuing.
Yeah, but you have more.
You have way more.
Yeah, more to the point where you are like, oh, I know everything.
Right. But what you don't have is you don't have pain about dying. You also don't, someone says, do they miss me? I've had people ask me that. What it is, and it's an authentic, honest, innocent question. Does my mom miss me on the other side? And I say, nope. And here's why. She sees you. She sees what you're doing. She pops in. And they're like, oh, her spirit is in my house. And I say, she doesn't live in your house. She has better things to do on the other side than come back to a house in Brooklyn, okay? So what she's doing is...
no time.
There's no time. She's in another dimension.
It's taking you 50 years to see her.
But for her, it was like that.
That fast.
Right.
And also, one of the guys that you channeled, we talked one time, and they said that this one I'm still wrapping my head around because it's so amazing, that there's your higher self version, our angelic self, our highest self that we all have, is actually on the other side because fragments of that higher self is on these on the planet in these lives doing our multidimensional living.
Hold on, that was real. You gotta break that down a little bit. Let me break that down.
Okay, let me go back.
What do you mean by fragments?
Okay, so we all have a higher self, right? So it's our angelic self. So that's the side that's the version of us that we're all trying to surrender to. The one that has the GPS, the one that knows where we're going, what we're trying to accomplish on this lifetime. So the more we surrender to that higher self in us, the voice in us, the feelings that we have inside that's guiding us in the right direction where there's flow, you get more sensitive to that voice. And then on the other side, this actual higher self exists, which is, so let's use me as an example. I exist on the other side and I exist in my fullness. Now me, higher self, is watching Araya right now.
Earthly Araya.
And multiple other versions that are going on in different timelines and different dimensions.
Parallel realities. Okay.
So my mom now dies, goes to the other side. She's over there now. And guess who she sees? Guess who she runs into?
Your higher self.
My higher self. Her higher self is already there. She shows up. All the versions of her becomes one. Guess who she's talking to?
So she's having conversations with your higher self. Both of them are having popcorn, watching Earthly Araya go through all her shit.
She doesn't miss me because I'm there with her. That's what I'm trying to say.
So they understand multi-dimensional existence.
So what I'm trying to say is the reason why I'm going to talk to the mothers out there right now, and also fathers included, but I just want to talk to the mothers right now. Mothers who have lost their children, I just want to let you know that your child, first of all, is a full-grown being coming in and full-grown leaving as a soul, even though the child could have been 1 year old, 2 years old, 20 years old, 50 years old.
Okay.
It's a full-grown soul the whole time.
Like has lived many lifetimes.
Yes. Fully.
Okay.
Your child is on the other side talking to you on the other side in person, this close, feeling you there and watching you in your life now.
I understand.
So your child is not alone and it's not without you. It's hard to grasp that. It's hard to feel that. And it's hard to accept that. But it is the highest teaching. If you focus on this, if you meditate on this, if you allow yourself to go into it, you'll understand the mastery, the perfection of this type of creation, the way we created it. You'll understand it. As
it has a logic to it, actually.
It's logical, doesn't it?
It's very logical.
Because we feel death is unfair. It's not fair. Your friends and family are just gone. It's not fair. But when you advance and evolve past that,
yes,
you realize that we're always together.
Well,
but in this lifetime is where we feel it.
Yeah, I think that's
in the lower self.
What I love about some of the older tribal beliefs as opposed to some of the more modern religious beliefs.
Yes.
In the modern religious beliefs, there's this idea of heaven and hell and punishment and still judgment on the other side. The tribal beliefs didn't really come from judgment. They came from that the ancestors will be waiting for you. The Vikings believe that they'll be in the Feast of Valhalla.
Right.
The tribes of Africa, Africa, South America, Iceland, wherever. It was that when a person died in the tribe, the tribe understood that almost, along with some of their sadness, they were actually happy for their brother, mother, father, whoever, who is now journeying to see the ancestors, who's going to be at the table in Valhalla. It's another version of heaven, you might say, but their grief is much shorter because they really believe this.
They really believe. That's the key. So if us, me and you, we don't want to lose anybody in our family, in our tribe, right?
Yes.
And we would be devastated.
Devastated.
So the thing is, though, because we know this, we know that's the only answer. That's the only solution that will help you get through it.
And have a little bit of
learn how to get through grief.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, look, this is not a grief video because that is, you can talk on grief for 100 hours. There's a lot to say. Mm-hmm. But if you want to do a fast track to get out of pain, this jump in consciousness, this leap of consciousness, this awareness of what is happening on the other side. And this is not just something that we know. This information has been passed through generationally from the beginning of written time.
I feel like we get these updates.
We do get updates.
Channeling is like when we channel messages from the spirit guides. It's like when your iPhone updates at night. Like there's some more little information coming to bring you a little bit, tweak that a little bit.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
The more we can handle, the more they give us, right?
I feel like that when a person, and this is what I'm interested in, there's questions that I would ask when I'm on the other side. Mm-hmm. I have a funny couple of things. I want to see all the times that I want to see the options, like the blooper reel from my life when I'm on the other side. Like I want to see, like, Riz, guess what? If you had turned left that day, here's what would have happened. I'm going to get such a kick out of that. I really hope that the spirit guides will show me stuff like that. I also want to know, like when I was in kindergarten, what the other kids thought of me. Like, did your little crush from kindergarten like you back, Or how about if you had just, the little funny little things like that. I would also like to know, while I was doing something, what was happening somewhere else. Nothing like lascivious, but like I want to know, like I want them to show me when I was in 9th grade and I was thinking one thing, and then they zoom over to somewhere else and show me what else was happening in order for me to get the thing I wanted. Let's say maybe
like confirmation.
Yeah, like when I was I was like 17 or 18 putting a band together. We didn't have any idea who's our drummer going to be. Right? It took 9 months to find that guy. I would love to know, like, all the things that had to happen.
Isn't there a movie like that?
The Adjustment Bureau.
I love that.
You guys got to watch The Adjustment Bureau.
The Adjustment Bureau is
Matt Damon, Emily Blunt. Strange odd couple, but had chemistry.
It worked.
It worked, guys. Watch it.
It was the closest thing to understanding that how spirit guides navigate around our life without influencing.
We should do an episode that's just going to be about what we think are the most metaphysical movies.
We absolutely have to do
that. We're going to give one away. Steph, we agree? Yeah. Adjustment Bureau?
So watch, out of this show, watch What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams and Adjustment Bureau.
It's going to blow your mind.
That's your assignment, kids, for today.
Yes. As a medium, I will tell you that there are truths, and a channeler, there are such truths to What Dreams May Come and such truths to Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah, put those two together.
You're going to have a pretty good understanding of how the other side works.
Yeah, in many ways, yeah.
Questions?
Yes.
Comments?
Questions and comments? I want to be always very open when it comes to anything regarding the other side, I love when people talk about the other side. I love it. But I always want to keep my mind open. I always want to keep my heart and mind open to possibilities, because we're talking about infinite intelligence. We're talking about God creation.
Trying to talk about the vast, infinite everything.
What Riz and I know is like this much compared to the universe, right?
Right, of course.
And then when we get to the other side, guess what? We're still going to be learning more about how this all creation works. So I just like everybody to always keep an open mind. If we can leave you with anything, I would love for you guys to feel like creation is all possibilities, and being on the other side, anything is possible.
Yep.
And reaching always for the highest vibration is always the key to your grief to end.
Yes.
And to find peace in your daily life, and to recognize death is life and life is death, and to be at peace with that. And to
know that it never really ends. There really is no death.
Right.
But to also understand that, when we're talking about one might call the unknowable, I don't think it's completely unknowable. I feel that we are being given ways to understand the terrain, the mountain. Even though the mountains are endless, we go, there seems to be a pattern here. And we're just picking up on those patterns and sharing our stories. And that's what this is today. It's just a share of our travels down those roads. It's not about right and wrong. It's not about truth versus falsehood. It is just about share what you have experienced. So we'd love to hear what you guys have experienced.
Yeah, and just keep it loose and keep it free. That's really our motto. Keep it loose and keep it free.
And keep it magical.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope you guys like this episode. And if you want to leave us a comment, go ahead and do that. Ask us any questions you would like. We try to get to everybody. And we'll see you in our next video. Bye.
Bye.